In the beginning, there was nothing, which apparently exploded somehow. The Big Bang. Galaxies, stars, and planets came together. And, as a natural next step, there was HTML. It has been around for the past 30 years, and if no one's going to do anything, it will likely be around for the next 30 years. HTML is the foundation of the entire internet. So, if your goal is to become a web developer, there's really no way around it. Grab a seat, get yourself a tea, and let's talk a bit about HTML. So what is HTML? It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. That just sounds like 4 random words out of a dictionary. In order to explain what this means, we will have to travel back in time to where it all started. We are now at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland. You might know it already. It's more commonly known as the home of the Large Hadron Collider. Right place, wrong time. We'll travel back before the LHC was even constructed. That's more like it. It's 1989. The scientist you see is called Tim Berners-Lee, and he has a problem. The collaborative and distributed nature of his work in high-energy physics demands a more sophisticated way of exchanging information between scientists all over the world. At the time, scientific papers and other documents were just being copied by hand from server to server. Otherwise, they were simply not available. Berners-Lee was absolutely not fine with that disorganized flow of information. You could even say he was a bit concerned about it. So he proposed a project to make things better. Scientific documents would often reference other documents as a source. Those documents would, in turn, reference other documents. So from a certain point of view, all of it is just a web of documents linked together in some sort. Tim Berners-Lee would use a concept called hypertext to link those documents together. In fact, he had already worked with that technology before. But what exactly is hypertext? According to this glorious website, hypertext is text which contains links to other texts. The term was already coined by Ted Nelson around 1965. So the concept itself wasn't new at all. Tim Berners-Lee just found the perfect application for it, the World Wide Web. This website, by the way, is actually considered to be the first website ever. It's from the CERN Institute and was put up by Tim Berners-Lee and his team in 1991. And it's a great example of how the web looked like in the beginning. No styling, pure and simple structured information. So the World Wide Web is built around the idea of hypertext. But how would this concept translate into a technological implementation? The big challenge was that not all documents were stored in one place. They were scattered across different servers and even across different countries. How would a person be able to access these documents when they are not stored on the same server? That was the challenge that Tim Berners-Lee and his team were facing. So they came up with the following solution. Let's say document B and C are on server 1 in Geneva. Document A and D, however, are on server 2 in Boston. If a visitor wanted to access any of these documents, let's say document C for instance, his or her computer would have to connect to the corresponding server 1 in Geneva and show that document. Now the visitor might click on a link to document A. That computer has to switch its connection immediately to server 2 in Boston in order to retrieve the new document. To establish communication between the visitor's computer and the server, Tim Berners-Lee and his team developed a communication protocol, a sort of language, if you will. It's called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTP, and you've probably heard of it already. You've seen it at the start of every URL. It's the language used between the browser and the server to transfer data. The browser makes an HTTP request to the server. In this case, the request would be, "Give me document A." The server would send an HTTP response. In this case, the response is like, "Here you go, this is the requested document A." And in what format is the data being sent over? You might have guessed it already. document A is being transferred as an HTML document, because this is the agreed upon exchange format for the web that Tim Berners-Lee and his team came up with. And this is, in short, how the World Wide Web works behind the curtains of your browser. Now, we've talked a good deal about the hypertext part of it. But where's that markup language coming from? Tim Berners-Lee wanted to make HTML the standard format for websites. But with any new standard, the biggest question is whether the community would adopt it. So he didn't create a completely new format from scratch. He built HTML as an extension of an already existing and widely adopted standard. SGML stands for Standard Generalized Markup Language, and it was already an ISO standard when HTML was in the making. A markup language is an agreed-upon format with a specific set of symbols and rules on how to structure data within a document. This way, it can be processed by machines as well as humans. So, in essence, the decision to make HTML conform to SGML specifications was a smart move to make it worthy of adoption. We've looked at when, where, and especially why HTML was created. But HTML is actually just one of 3 ingredients you need to build modern, dynamic websites. Without CSS and JavaScript, your website will be visually and functionally very limited. So ultimately, HTML can be compared to the skeleton of a website, while CSS would be the skin and hair, aka how does it look, and JavaScript the muscles and organs, aka how does it function. The structuring of the different parts of a website is achieved by using HTML elements. An element is made up of a starting tag, an end tag, and anything in between. Here we have some examples of HTML elements. This is a heading element, so anything you put in between the starting and the end tag will be displayed in a prominent fashion. In order to represent any desired structure, these elements can be nested. This means that elements can contain other elements. So there are really no boundaries on how complex and granular a website can be built. Let's summarize quickly what we have learned. HTML enables us to use the concept of hypertext to jump from website to website. It is by nature a markup language that is a set of symbols and rules to create a structured document. It is therefore not a programming language itself. HTML needs CSS and JavaScript to create full websites that are rich in visuals and functionality. HTML consists of encapsulated elements to reflect any desired website structure. These elements may also be nested. In short, HTML is the foundation of the World Wide Web. It is integrated into the hearts of all browsers and web servers in the world, so the internet would not function without HTML. It's the unrivaled standard for websites, and it will accompany us for the foreseeable future. So, that is HTML. I hope you were able to take some learnings from this video. If so, consider giving it a like, or if you're feeling especially generous today, you could even follow my channel for further videos. Until then, happy coding!